Now, in the last time we saw this earlier today, that was Joe Bernal versus Caleb Durward. Caleb is pretty much locked in to our top 8 right now, unless something crazy happens, like his opponent being insane. So that went out in Caleb Durward's favor, and I do think that Elves has an advantage here. 4 Force of Will is going to help for Matt Hoey. I'm probably saying his last name wrong. I'm sorry, Matt.
No, that's right.
Okay. And Matt on the left here, Dan on the right.
Looks like Dan has the play with Elves.
That's right. Now, looks very much like very close to what Caleb is playing from Dan's side of the table.
Yeah. Dan's leading off with Quirion Ranger.
And we have a first turn polluted. Delta is fetching up, I'm going to guess, an Underground Sea. Could be a Tundra, though. There's the Underground Sea.
Should have gone with your gut.
Well, I wanted to hedge. And Inquisition.
Off with Inquisition.
Inquisition.
Yep. Strong card against this particular
Priest.
matchup.
Ouch.
This is a good hand.
Wow. Priest, Green Sun Zenith, Elvish Visionary, and Nettle Sentinel.
Interesting that he led the Ranger instead of the Zenith on turn 1. I imagine that means he was planning to use this Zenith for something other than Dryad Arbor, but with this hand I kind of think I would rather have just gotten that Dryad Arbor.
I mean, with the Quirion Ranger, he can play a Priest of Titiana on turn 2 without having to worry about anything. But I mean, he can do the same thing. Yeah.
He can actually maximize it with the Quirion Ranger, right? Because then he can have both of them in play.
This is true.
I guess it's basically the same. Well, no. You just have an additional land. It just seems a little better.
You're correct. Okay.
But if his plan is to get something else, then it becomes a completely different conversation.
And now he has drawn a Windswept Heath.
Yep.
Hey, no surprises here. You now know what my hand is still.
I imagine we're going to find a land.
There is a forest.
Not Savannah.
And this deck has 2 Savannah and a Windswept... Pardon me, not a Windswept Heath. A... Wow, did he cut it?
He has...
He did cut the Horizon Canopy.
Yep.
No Horizon Canopy in Dan Stokes' deck. I was going to say he's got 2 Savannah and a Horizon Canopy. A lot of these white-based Elves deck run 1. Dan cut it.
Interesting. Did he actually cut a land? He's on 5, 11... He's on 17 lands.
Visionary hits
Drawing
the
him a
play.
card.
Second land for Matt Hoey.
The
Now
green-
we're going to probably see Tundra. There it is. That's a
pretty
nice Tundra.
Is that Asian black bordered?
And Stoneforge Mystic. Umezawa's Jite, perhaps, probably.
It looks like he has had that Tundra altered.
That is an
to
Umezawa's
be,
Jite.
Japanese, I think. Yep, fetching up the Jite. Obviously, if he can get that active, pretty strong card against Elves. That's the trick, though, getting it active. Wirewood Symbiote can throw a big wrench in that plan.
And Dan Stokes lays another land off the top.
Magic's real hard.
Well, he did draw 2 cards.
Yep.
Elvish
And these lands are
Visionary
also
helps.
debatably useful at this point. I mean, he has a Ranger. He has the mana to cast all of his spells. Like, it's not that big a deal. He's going to grab Savannah this time. This is actually kind of a slow start for Dan. He's not really doing anything too impressive.
He's also really not under duress, so, I mean...
I think I like Zenithing for 1 here to get our Wirewood Symbiote. That seems fine to me, right?
Zenith for 1.
That's my call. Just one layman's opinion.
He finds the Symbiote.
Hey!
The Symbiote, very similar to the Quirion Ranger. The Quirion Ranger bounces forests to untap a creature. The Symbiote bounces elves to untap a creature.
Wirewood Symbiote with Elvish Visionary, most importantly, is a draw engine. And one that is a lot more impressive than you might assume at first glance.
Both of these cards make it impossible to really stymie Umezawa's Jite getting active. Quirion Ranger and a Dryad Arbor. Oh, we see a Nettle Sentinel.
Nettle Sentinel.
Quirion Ranger and a Dryad Arbor can stop an Umezawa's Jite from working, and Wirewood Symbiote and an Elf.
Also a good point. Guru Island from Matt Hoey. He's got a nice deck here. Oh, but that island's foil unhinged. No, that's not acceptable. You gotta. They have to match. Otherwise, what are we doing here? It looks like we're casting another Elvish Visionary on Dan Stokes' side. That appears to be. Oh no, Priest of Titania. Sorry. Or are we? It's a little hard to tell. All right, we're gonna play a fetch land. Fetching for Savannah.
We still have not seen the Dryad Arbor from Dan Stokes' deck, but if you want to see a really, really cool piece of art, if you go find Aaron Forsyth from Magic R&D, a Dryad Arbor reprint has been shown. It's really awesome.
It is really awesome. Yeah. And very foresty, I might add. Dan goes ahead and casts that Priest of Titania. He's got a nice little board of elves going on over there. Matt's brainstorming. Then I imagine he'll be sliding that Jitte into play, using Stoneforge Mystic's activated ability. Considering. Hopefully we throw back that foil unhinged island. That's what I'm hoping for.
Nice.
Just be reasonable. Oh, we did. Yes.
And Umezawa's Jitte down.
Does indeed enter play. I doubt he'll spend his turn equipping it. That just won't do much.
Well, a Swords to Plowshares
he has a Swords. You're right. If he swords the symbiote, that is actually a devastating play. I didn't see that he had found the Swords with his brainstorm. Sword symbiote, and Dan knows how this is going to go. Not well, is the answer. He can go ahead and bounce in response, and he probably will. Yep, Elvish Visionary back to the hand. But now he's going to lose at least his Priest of Titania, I imagine. It's possible Matt will go for the Nettle Sentinel, but I kind of think that that's not the case. If Dan blocks, he can kill the Stoneforge Mystic, which will temporarily dismantle the Jitte. But it will cost him both of his creatures to do that. I kind of think I might have liked a block. I don't know.
It's hard to call.
I'm sorry, he does,
I mean, you lose so many things.
He does have a Quirion Ranger, which I missed there.
If he had a Dryad Arbor available, he still would have been fine. But because he didn't have the Arbor available, now he's just torn to pieces.
That's fair.
And speaking of Dryad Arbor, if you go to the @SCG Live, I did post a little link to a picture of the new Dryad Arbor. It's awesome. And Birchlore Rangers said untaps the Nettle Sentinel. A little bit of color here. He's got a Green Sun Zenith. He could get a second Wirewood Symbiote and start protecting himself again.
I imagine that's what he has to do, but he doesn't know that Matt Hoey is already rolling on Snapcaster Mage. This play is going to be just as effective. Whoa.
Pierce. He went really... How much mana did he make there? 1, 2, 3 mana. Oh, he's going for the Viridian Shaman.
Yep. He tried to get a little aggro there.
Not that the Snapcaster Mage would have taken care of it anyway.
Yeah, I don't think it would have mattered. He's pretty much just in grim shape there. The Inquisition takes care of the Elvish Visionary. The Jitte basically clears the board. Birchlore Ranger down.
Oh, that Nettle Sentinel is still tapped.
Yeah, it's a little hastily untapped on the Nettle Sentinel there, but...
And it's untapped.
It is untapped.
But that Wirewood Symbiote is not long for this world.
No. Yeah, I think I would have blocked with Nettle Sentinel on the very first Jitte attack, probably. That would have forced Matt to have the Snapcaster Mages, and even though he does have them, it's just a little hard. This is really over now.
One of the problems for Elves, it can be very hard to dig out of the hole once you're in it. Elves can explode really, really fast, but it's so hard to recover once your opponent takes control.
Yep.
I mean, right now, Dan basically is just saying go, 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 and taking 5, if not 9 damage a turn. 2-turn clock.
Yep. Matt's playing it safe, not pumping.
Click.
Yep, that's
What
the
you got?
ball game. Don't show him.
Hey,
no,
see
now he
these
knows
things?
a lot more elves and Elvish Visionary. How unfortunate.
I'll draw a card. What are you looking for here, Dan?
Yeah, I don't think he has any outs.
I'll draw a card.
We'll pass, and we are dead to the board if the Jitte moves. Or
Blink.
kills my creatures, right? Like,
Blink, blink. Rawr.
I would have moved the Jitte, that's just how I jam.
I would have killed the creatures, as Matt did, because I like to kill things.
Well, you know, on Duels of the Planeswalkers, you get bonuses for making the largest creature or dealing the most damage, so...
I did not know this.
Yeah, that's why I would move the Jitte. I've been trained.
Sideboard options for Dan Stokes. Kasali Pride Mage to fight Umezawa's Jitte. Umezawa's Jitte to fight Umezawa's Jitte. And I think he's done unless he's the kind of player that likes to try to do Emrakul.
Yeah.
I mean, he can cast it, but I don't know if he's that kind of guy.
Yeah, I'm not feeling the Emrakuls. I don't think they're the cards you want here.
I mean, there's a reason I don't remember. I don't remember Chris Anderson having that in his sideboard recently.
No, he does. He actually dislikes Emrakul significantly. I think that the problem with Emrakul is that the way Stoneblade tries to beat you is to keep you from getting to a position where Emrakul can do anything.
Right.
So if your Emrakul is even relevant, then you've basically already beaten their plan.
You're already there.
Yeah, so that seems a little unnecessary.
Okay, so we Kasali Pride Mage and Umezawa's Jitte to fight the fight.
Those seem safe calls. Over here we have probably Engineered Explosives. I think that card's playable against elves.
Perish.
Perish also
Perish seems
playable.
okay.
Yeah.
Zealous Persecution from the sideboard.
Terminus might be worth a shot. We've got
And actually, I
Brainstorms.
like Thoughtseize as well.
You like Thoughtseize? The one card I'm not so sure about, we've got actually two. Sword of Feast and Famine lets you run by the elves, but is not actually that relevant against their game plan. It's just a reasonable piece of equipment. And Grafdigger's Cage, which can turn off Green Sun Zenith.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think if I'm Matt, I consider Grafdigger's Cage if I'm on the play. I don't think I would want it on the draw when the Zeniths are going to be live a lot more often. Like if he goes turn 1 Zenith and I play turn 1 Grafdigger's Cage, I just feel a little silly. The other way around, much more reasonable.
One thing I do really like Dan in this matchup, but I think that he was perhaps not respectful enough of how much work an Umezawa's Jitte can do on his creatures. I mean, he obviously knows it, but his Quirion Ranger could have been able to be a backup plan for a Jitte.
Yep.
He has to know that Jitte is one of the few plans that this kind of Esper deck can do in the game one.
Yeah, I think he felt his position was a little more solid than it was probably. He thought the Symbiote was enough, and that even, like, worst case scenario, he'd still have that extra Visionary draw and another draw step, but it's so hard to peel out against the active Jitte that it was probably awkward. Maybe holding the Zenith to get the Shaman the turn that you get Jitte is more reasonable, although, as we saw, Matt had the Spell Pierce anyway. It's tough to evaluate.
Right. As it is, Dan Stokes, two fairly solid cards to bring in from the sideboard, and unfortunately for him, Matt has at least 4 cards that are great, 5 cards that I would say are great, and 1 card that's fine, and a couple of cards that are maybes.
Yep. We've got Caleb behind Matt Hoey. They're friends and playtesting buddies. Looking on, he watches Dan Stokes piloting his own archetype against his friend. Matthias Hunt enjoying a break also behind our match.
See Matthias talking with Caleb.
I mean, if you're going to talk with Caleb about the match, you might as well just come on down, right?
For those of you who are just joining us, this is the final round of the Swiss portion of the Legacy Tournament here today. 223 players showed up bright and early, and one of these 2 players will be making the top 8 of this event. I'm Adrian Sullivan in the booth with Glenn Jones. This is SCG Live. Dan Stokes with Elves down 1-0. Matt Hoey with Esper Stoneblade.
Dan's going to need to rally, take this game, get to a 3rd game. It's going to be tough. Matt clearly, I think Matt may have been swayed by Caleb to expect a little more Elves based on his sideboard. Obviously, Caleb did very well at the SCG Detroit, finishing in the finals. And Elves has been proven to be a little bit more of a contender recently than many players expected, so I don't find it that surprising.
Okay.
Got a little dead look in our... Okay, we're just laughing at a joke. Ooh. Matt's a chatty player, incidentally. I'm sure those of us watching can tell. Just looking at him, he's been talking almost the entire time. He's a chatty guy.
Got a smile there out of Dan. Dan here on the play. This is one of the most dangerous places for Matt to be. Dan on the play could win on turn 2 with very little Matt can do about it. Even through resistance, it's possible for Dan to make that play.
Caleb said that Chris Anderson told him Elves can win on turn 2 about 1 in 50 games. Something like that.
Well, Caleb.
Caleb has done it twice today, for those listening. And in case you were wondering, no, you can't play 100 games or 50, even 50 games in an 8-round tournament.
I think you can. You can. You gotta get a lot of draws, though. You gotta get a lot of draws.
Would you like to draw? Well, that was fun. Would you like to draw again? The old non-standard mulligan to 7.
We saw that turn 2 win in round 5 from Caleb Durward. So if you want to go back to our archives later, round 5 is where you'd be looking for it.
Matt keeps 7 cards, it looks like, while Dan is falling to 6 on the play. Not that problematic. The 7 card is really an extra one.
Back in my day, we didn't even let us mulligan. Not unless you had all land or no land.
Well, that's reasonable. I mean, one's enough, right? Like, that's what I seem to recall someone saying at one point.
We only run 20 land and we liked it.
I did like running 20 land.
I see a keep there.
4, 5, 6. Let's pick them up. Those 3 not exciting. Those 3 also not exciting.
He does not look happy about it. Or he's got a good poker face.
Looks like a grudging keep to me. That's my call. That's my read on the situation. Yep.
Forest Symbiote. Elf.
Elf,
that's a good start so far. Engineered explosives. Doesn't play it. Leaves the sword open.
Of course. Playing it would just be a little cheeky, I think. Scrubland on turn 1. Dan doesn't have to fear Spell Pierce. He probably wouldn't expect a daze, but he also doesn't have to fear that.
Glimpse, Symbiote, Birchlore Rangers, Green Sun Zenith in hand.
There's a glimpse?
Am I misseeing that? Maybe it's not a glimpse. I think it's a glimpse.
I think it's a glimpse too. No, that's I'm interested. I'm not doubting.
Ah.
That just makes his hand a little more intriguing.
Glimpse.
Yep.
How does it look? Force of Will?
If you had the explosives in this position, I actually might be inclined to let the glimpse go. I don't know.
Draw. This is a glimpse probably for value, but then again, Caleb's glimpse for value turned into a game win.
It's hard to glimpse not for value.
Well, as opposed for something more exciting. We see a Wirewood Symbiote draw a card.
Matt is positively giddy about the future of his explosives, but he will have to actually survive until turn 3 to get to cast it. He also has a Terminus in his hand, which is interesting if he happens to draw a Brainstorm, I suppose. If he can cast a Terminus in this match, it probably means the match is long over.
Returns Birchlore Rangers to his hand, untapping Llanowar Elf.
After making some manners.
Recast the Birchlore Rangers. Draws a Kasali Pride Mage.
Okay, well, we have a hand.
Say go.
That's enough. Swords on the Symbiote. I like that play from Matt. Symbiote's the dangerous card. It lets Dan do a lot of advantageous things, and it will let him save a creature from explosives anyway, so the fact that you lose a card, your swords, to kill a card you were sort of going to kill already, not that big a deal. Ah, the Guru
Matt
Island.
Says go. We have the Elvish Visionary trick here Well, he used to have it. Swords to Plowshares clearing away Symbiote so that he doesn't have it any longer. But he can Green Sun Zenith for that Symbiote if he chooses.
Now, interesting, Engineered Explosives is actually seeing a fair bit of play here this weekend. Grand Prix Atlanta, it was one of the sideboard cards a lot of people were running, made some main decks as well, but it's not, prior to Grand Prix Atlanta, an especially commonly played card in Legacy at the moment. So, do you play thinking about the possibility for Engineered Explosives? I think you might next week. I don't think players really are this week, judging from the games I've watched.
2 mana. Green Suns for 1, looking for a Symbiote, I'm sure. It resolves.
Yep, Symbiote.
Symbiote in play. He can spend his Birchlore and the Visionary to get a mana, return the Visionary, untap the Llanowar Elf, recast the Visionary.
Yep, that is, I imagine, what his play will be. Which is nice because he's actually gaining a lot of cards in the process, so even when the Engineered Explosives inevitably comes, he'll still be able to continue playing Magic, which is one of the strengths of the Elf deck.
There's the mana. Untap, return,
This is
cast.
how we do it.
Draw. Go.
Go. Yep.
Turn 3. Mana. Explosives.
Yep.
Returning the creature is a cost, so he can save one of his creatures, period, without Matt being able to stop it. It's one of his 2/1s.
Elves, sorry. I even said the F.
And he actually chooses not to, just returning the Visionary instead.
Yep. I think that plays fine.
That's
Those elves
fine.
weren't that good.
Yeah.
Llanowar Elves on turn 4 is significantly worse than Llanowar Elves on turn 1. Elvish Visionary, however, always is good. As I joked with Caleb earlier, the green Snapcaster Mage, Elvish Visionary. Looks like we've got a
full
Heritage
hand
Druid.
for Dan.
Yeah. Heritage Druid, a Birchlore, a Savannah, crop rotation. That doesn't seem especially wonderful, although it can get a Gaia's Cradle at some point.
Three elves are out. Heritage Druid can make the manas.
He can make mana and crop rotation for a Gaia's Cradle, but that's not going to be enough to cast the Regal Force in his hand. Right?
3 mana.
3.
Crop rotation. That is a cost. Does it resolve? Yes.
We're going to get a Cradle, so we can get to 5 mana here.
2 left, plus 3 is 5.
Unless I'm missing something, like...
Go.
Yeah. So we just stuck it while Matt was tapped out. It's fine. He did bring in the Sword of Feast and Famine. I just saw it in Matt's hand.
There is a Dust Bowl in Matt Hoey's deck, but no Wastelands.
Inquisition, well...
Take that.
That's not the card he wants to take, but he'll take it.
Take that, Kasali Pride Mage.
He's staring at that Regal Force. Well, Spell Pierce, that's not going to do it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana available. And that's without anything else happening.
Playing Pluto Delta, shiny. I like Matt's mana base still.
And he cracks that, looking for another land. Oh, Lord. Is that a perish?
Dan expects,
Wah, 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 wah.
Expects the worst and gets it. Dan went from looking real good to looking real grim.
Very
in one
sad.
Fell swoop.
Nettle Sentinel. Back up to a potential 4 mana.
Yep.
Go ahead, says Matt Hoey.
Matt's a little light on proactive cards, so Dan might have enough time to peel back in here. Is that a Vendilion Click? Yeah.
Wow.
It's considering letting him keep it, I think. Yep. Lets him keep it. I would too, I think. Monorel's not so threatening, and ideally, Matt's just going to sort of feast and famine up, take care of that Regal Force. Easy peasy. It's counting. Yeah, I got 5 mana. That's sweet.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, you're wrecked. A true dismantling here of Dan Stokes by Matt.
Yep. He got the cards that mattered when they mattered, which is an underappreciated rule of timing.
Brainstorm helps. And Dan attacking for anything? 1? Bueller?
I mean, yeah, even Dan's just like, I don't really know if this matters, but I guess I'll swing.
Lays the land.
I like laying the land there. It seems correct. Now if we draw Regal Force, we can...
boy. Take 5. Zealous Persecution in Matt's hand.
Zealous Persecution. He just has everything. He has all the things.
Terminus, Zealous Persecution. And Dan, I think, is going to fetch for a Dryad Arbor at EOT here to try to get the beats going. Nope, just a forest, playing it safe.
So Matt has the sort of Feast and Famine online, but one of the awkward parts is that it's not really advancing his game plan that much. Like we discussed during sideboarding, he doesn't do that much against elves specifically.
Well, he doesn't do very much in general. He just kind of tears people open
There
a
are
little bit
matchups where he can play like the aggro control deck, but that's not this one. Like he doesn't have tap out for my threat in main phase 1, attack you, untap. Like that's just not his game plan. So he's doing what he can with it, which is attack for a non-significant amount of damage.
Zealous Persecution.
It's going to go ahead
Take
and burn
that,
it now
elves.
for the damage. Drops Dan to 3. Now, even if he draws away to remove the Sword of Feast and Famine, i.e. Viridian Shaman or something similar, it's not enough. Yep.
And that's it.
That's the ball game.
A 2-0 victory for Esper Stoneblade.
The reverse of what we saw when Caleb fought Joe Bernal. Although, actually, I believe Caleb went 2-1 against Joe Bernal.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like Dan had an opportunity in Game 1 to be more defensive against the Umezawa's G-Tech.
Yeah, I agree.